I often get asked by clients and people I know, what are the best networks to join to get on a board? And there's a few ways to answer that question. One is, first of all, you need to figure out um, which network is the best one for you. There are many of them, so you need to figure that out, and I'll explain how. And then the second thing is to ask yourself, how much time do you have? So let me sort of start out by kind of explaining why networks are really important. Of course, if you're looking for a board seat, I would say the majority, if not all, board seats are found through professional networks. In other words, they are found through a relationship that you have with someone directly and they have a board seat, or someone has asked somebody, hey, do you know anyone? We're looking for this kind of person. Or someone's complaining, oh, my board, somebody on the board, we need to get rid of them. We're looking for a new board member. Oh, I might know somebody. Or as you're going through the process of applying for a board seat, someone puts in a good word for you. So really, reputation, I talk about reputation and relationships a lot. Those are really the two most important things. So when you're thinking about a professional network, the first thing you want to think about is, who's my target audience, right? Who's making decisions about new board members in my target group? So figure out the direction you want to go in. And that could be a whole other podcast, of course. But figure out the direction you want to go in, and then think through, right, so where are those professional networks? Where do those people spend time? And then the other question you want to ask yourself, and if you're not sure, contact me. I can give you some advice, but it's not always as linear. I think there's a myth out there that, board members are the only people that can help people get onto boards. That is absolutely not the case. Having worked with thousands of boards, having worked with thousands of CEOs, having worked with thousands of board directors, having also worked at a recruiting firm doing search, one thing that was very clear was that the CEO was by far the most important influencer when it came to the board. Public, private, small, large, it didn't really matter. So the board members sometimes, especially if they're independent, they won't be the first ones to be thinking about a board opportunity or an available board seat. It would be perhaps someone like the chair, the CEO, someone like that. So don't get too caught up in thinking about, I have to be a member of a professional network where there's lots of board members. I would say be a member of a professional network where there are lots of influential people, movers and shakers, people who are active, right? So that would be my first piece of advice. And then the second piece of advice would be, do you have the time? I would say one of the biggest roadblocks for people when they're looking for a board seat is they say, I just don't have the time. I'm working, I'm doing this, I have my family, I'm volunteering. And one of the biggest things I hear is from a number of people is that they're a member of lots of professional networks. They think that if they join lots of professional networks, their chances are higher of hitting, right, on someone. What tends to happen, and this may not be the case with everyone, but what I tend to see is that people join a lot of networks. It's almost overwhelming. There's an event over here, an event over there, event in this city, event in that city. They end up going to none of them, or maybe one of them once a year. They see someone once, the next year they see them twice. That's not really a good way to build a relationship. That's not really a good way to actually leverage those professional networks. So my advice would be to cut that right down, focus in on one or two, and attend events and be more active, be more proactive too. So in a lot of these professional networks, you can actually see who's in the network, and you can proactively contact them, which is quite valuable. And I don't think enough people do that. They kind of rely on the events and the webinars and things like that. So, professional networks are important. I do want to, though, just at the end of this podcast here, is to just reiterate the importance of spending time, a lot of time, with the people that have known you, liked you, and trusted you for many years. So building new relationships is great, but that former CEO that you worked for 10 years ago, or the investor from an IPO that you went through 20 years ago that you kept in touch with, but maybe haven't seen in a few years, those people to me are the sort of golden nuggets. Those are the people who already know you, already like you. They've seen you in action. So try not to think, okay, I've got to, if I'm trying to get onto boards, I have to build this whole new network. I have to do all these new things. That's actually not the case. The majority of the time, the board opportunities are actually right in front of you through the network that you already have. So just in summary, think about how much time do you have to commit to a professional network? Who's your target audience? Who's making decisions at the board level? And if you're not sure, feel free to shoot me a note. I can absolutely work with all types of boards. And I'm again, essentially look at a board and say, this is who's making the decision. And then really target those networks. But local networks also, I just add in, local networks are quite powerful too. The ones where you can actually meet in person. I think it's hard to build a relationship with influential people just through a Zoom, right? So take the time to have coffee, dinner, these sorts of things. And that's actually another point. That one-to-one networking is essential, right, for your board career. It's not about running around with your business cards and meeting 50 people and then coming home and saying, right, I'm expecting 50 people to call me in the next 3 months for a board opportunity. That rarely happens. So, but the person that's known you for a long time is probably quite likely to help there and to be able to kind of leverage their relationships and make introductions. And that's really what you're looking for, right? You're looking for that warm introduction, the person that says, hey, you should work with this person because I've worked with them and they're really impressive. So to summarize, do you have the time? Don't join hundreds of networks. Join one, join two, spend your time there and be proactive. If you meet someone at an event, meet with them for a coffee afterwards, get to know them. Speed up that time frame of getting to know people. And then finally, really think through which networks are the right fit for you. They may be, here's another thought for everybody, they may be a little underground, right? When I say that is, it may just be a group of people that meet every couple of weeks or a WhatsApp chain of people. I think quality over quantity for board seats is absolutely a great piece of advice too. So think about your professional networks. It shouldn't take huge amounts of your time. And if you're working and if you are a consultant or if you're doing other things as well, meeting new people and getting into some of these networks is always a good thing anyway. It can be good for your career, can be good for your for business as well. So thank you for dialing into the Boardroom Company Live. And like I said, if you need to contact me and ask me any questions about professional networks that you're considering, I'm very familiar with a lot of these. I've been part of them. I've engaged with them. And so always happy to help. Okay. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.